Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. Three Abu Dhabi companies looking to go public soon. ADCB taps into Swiss bond market. And we find out about Dubai's tourism industry. GCC markets closed mixed today, and also the UAE bourses didn't tap in the same direction. The DFM fell 0.25% to close at 1,602 points. The property sector posted losses today as Arab Tech dropped 1.75%, and Emaar Properties fell over 0.25%. In the banking sector, Dubai Islamic Bank was down nearly 1%, while Emirates MBD was up 1.5%. DO gained over 0.25%, while DP World fell over 1.5%. 88 million shares were traded, valued at 119 million dirhams. Meanwhile, in the capital, the ADX gained 0.2% to close at 2,797 points. Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank rose over 2%. Alder Properties dropped 3.25%, and Suru Real Estate fell nearly 2.25%. In the energy sector, Dana Gas fell 1.5%, while Taka rose over 2.75%. 47 million shares were traded, valued at 101 million dirhams. And now it's time to take a look at the GCC markets, which ended mixed today. Coming up now, let's take a look at various currencies exchanged into dirhams, followed by the price of oil and a selection of commodities. China yesterday raised its interest rate for the third time since October in its pursuit to tackle inflation. The People's Bank of China raised the benchmark one-year lending rate by 25 basis points to 6.06%. China is not the only country to tighten its monetary policy. Also, other Asian countries such as India, Thailand and South Korea. What are the reasons behind China's step, and how will this affect the region? To discuss this, we are now joined by Philippe Dauba-Pantanat, Senior Economist at Standard Chartered Bank for the Middle East and North Africa. Welcome to the show, Philippe.
Thank you for having me.
China has just hiked its interest rates. We heard it. It is not the only Asian country to do so. A wave of interest rate hikes has hit the Asian countries. What is China's rationale behind tightening its monetary policy further?
Indeed, China raised its interest rate yesterday, and that came after a flurry of interest rate hike all across Asia. What's happening right now in Asia is that the whole region is going through a sustained period of growth that is threatened by inflation. So central banks are intervening. Precisely on China, this came just ahead of the January inflation figure that we expect to come out next week at 6% compared to 4.6% in December. So there was a preemptive move, and we actually think that the current environment in China is still accommodative. So we can expect more hike coming from China's central bank in the future.
Philip, tell me, how will China's monetary tightening affect the entire region? After all, China is the world's power engine.
Well, the region is pegged to the US dollar, as we know, and because of that, the monetary policy in this region is actually completely tied to what is happening in the US Federal Reserve. And because we don't project any interest rate hike in 2011 in the US, we shouldn't see any interest rate hike in the region as well. Now, the problem that could come from Asia is that in the current environment, we are seeing a rate hike in all Asian countries that could potentially lead to a hard landing in this economy that could threaten demand coming from the East. This is not our core scenario, but this is obviously always a threat when you raise interest rates.
Thank you for your time, Philippe. And now to our top stories. Several Abu Dhabi-based companies are paving the way to revive the UAE's IPO market. At least 3 companies plan to publicly list their shares in the first half of this year. Property firm Eshraq, Insurance House and Abu Dhabi National Insurance Company, as well as a number of healthcare companies, are looking to test investors' appetite for new stocks. All 3 plan to go public on the Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange within the first half of this year. The IPOs would be the first in the UAE in 2 years. Only recently, Dubai-based Axiom Telecom cancelled its planned IPO just days before the expected listing. Officials say the revival of the local IPO market will boost liquidity and attract more international investors. Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank has mandated banks for a bond issue in Swiss francs, making ADCB the 3rd Gulf lender to tap into the Swiss market. The bond issue will mean cheaper access to funding for Gulf issuers due to a better swap rate with the US dollar. ADCB chose Royal Bank of Scotland and UBS for the 150 million Swiss franc bond that will mature in 2015. Experts say it will allow both investors and issuers to regionally diversify their issue placement and investment. According to Reuters, with the bond issue, the ADCB is looking to raise finances for general corporate purposes. A number of banks have recently released their full-year results for 2010, so in our fast financial news today, here are the most recent reports. Abu Dhabi National Energy Company, also known as TAQA, recorded a net profit of 937 million dirhams last year. That is more than 5 times as much as the year before. The company's revenue rose 27% to 21.1 billion dirhams. TAQA attributes this to a more positive commodity pricing environment for the second half of the year. The company especially benefited from the 28% gain in crude oil last year. Alder Properties posted a net loss of 1.4 billion dirhams for the past financial year. The company booked over 11 billion dirhams in impairments and fair value losses. Although the company posted a loss, it generated 1.8 billion in revenues from property sales, property developments and management, as well as revenues from other businesses. Alder said although 2010 was challenging, it delivered high-quality developments and infrastructure for paving the way for a sustainable future. Dubai's Mashreq Bank posted a net profit of 803 million dirhams for 2010. Net interest income and income from Islamic products rose by 9% to 2.3 billion dirhams. Net fee, commission and other income, on the other hand, fell 27% to 2.1 billion dirhams, owing to the economic slowdown. And after the break, we speak to Tarek El Sherif from 5 Continents Hospitality Group about the UAE's tourism industry.